The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices.
They're mine. They're not yours. You had no right to them when you were alive, and you have no right to them when you're dead. That's what it sounded like. Good, so you know who I am. And then you know I'm not playing. You're going to let those women go. In Jesus' name, you're going to let those women go.
Is there a demon here watching us right now? Or just watching us right now?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good night. Misfits, sugar ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters, I love you. What's up?
We have got a very, very interesting show for you tonight. On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the pyramids, the Great Pyramid in particular, and we are finally probably going to answer some of the questions that we've all had for years and years and years. So there was an article that went along with this one, but it is a very, very long article, and most of it has nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about tonight. So instead of giving you the whole article, I'll just put the link down in the description box of the YouTube video. So if you guys want to read the whole article, you can go and check it out. Essentially, what we're going to be talking about tonight is a discovery that was made of an ancient papyrus that was written in 440 BC. So it was like 2,000 years after the pyramids were built. This thing was written. And I don't know how they really figure that, because we don't really know exactly when the pyramids were built. But I guess they're ballparking it. But anyway, 440 BC, a papyrus was found that describes how the pyramids were built. Now, there's a lot of questions that a lot of people have about the pyramids, what they're used for, how they were built, how they were able to cut the stone so precisely, how they were able to align it perfectly with different constellations into space and all that kind of stuff. How they moved the stones, because they were quarried like 800 miles away or something. And then they were brought to the site for the pyramid. So on tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about all of those things. First, let's start with the beginning of the process. We'll just kind of work it through the process. At the quarry, they cut the stone. There's a question of how they cut it so precisely. But I tend to think that the precise cuts weren't done at the quarry. I think they were done on the site. And they were done to fit. Just like if you're a stonemason or a bricklayer, something like that, and you're going to build something made of stone. When you are piecing it together, you're going to have some pieces that are just too big to fit. So you're going to break the brick in half. You're going to break the stone in half. You're going to do a 3/4 brick or a 1/4 brick. You're going to kind of adjust on the fly as you go so it fits in and it looks right. So I think that has a lot to do with the way the ancient Egyptians did it as well. I think that a lot of the cuts they made because they needed to for it to fit correctly. As far as how they made them so precisely, you've heard a lot of stuff about that modern day stonemasons can't make those cuts. That even with lasers, they can't get that precise with a cut. I don't know how true that is. I'm not a stonemason, so I don't know. But that is one that still there's no answer for. Okay? So they cut at the site. I imagine they just cut big rectangles or big squares, either one, of stone. And they have to move that stone from the quarry site to the pyramid. Okay? So I think probably what happened there was, and it's something that we've all kind of seen on History Channel and Science Channel and those kind of things. Whenever you watch documentaries about the pyramids and they talk about them building them, they do a system where they have logs underneath of the stone. So when they first cut the stone, it is lifted onto logs. Now it's lifted by essentially a crane. right? That's the machine that they used, was a wooden crane to lift these rocks. And if you attach enough ropes and you have a big enough counterweight, you can lift damn near anything. You can use come-alongs, pulley systems, that kind of thing, to drastically reduce the weight of those stones. So the idea that it would be impossible to lift the stones off the ground is not true. You get enough guys on a rope, that stone is coming off the ground, period. We could do it today if we wanted to. It's not undoable, and it's not an impossible feat to lift and move that stone. So once they lift that stone up using their wooden crane, they put it on to wooden logs, round logs, and they just push it. They get enough people to push and pull on it, probably using come-alongs and gears and pulleys and stuff like that to cut the weight of the stone, and they are able to move it forward on the logs. As it moves forward, they take the logs out from behind it that it has already cleared. They bring it around to the front, they put it there, and it rolls over that log. So that's the process that they use to move the stone. Now you might say, well, they damn sure couldn't have done that for 800 miles. That's crazy. And I agree with you. 100% nuts, that's not what they did. The quarry site would have been next to a river. So all they have to do is move it 50 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet, a couple hundred yards, whatever it is, from the quarry site to the river site. So once they move it to the river, they're going to have another wooden crane set up at the river. That's going to lift the stone once again and set it on top of a barge, just a flat raft. And that is going to make the majority of that journey all the way down to the build site. And then when they get as close to the build site as they can get, they pull it off with another wooden crane, put it back on logs, and repeat the process. And they move that thing up to the building site using that method of pulling logs out, putting them in front, and rolling it. So once that takes place and they get it to the build site, then what they do, and this is where this scroll comes in, is they're talking about those wooden cranes that I was just talking about at the build site. They're talking about that there. They also have them at the quarry site. Okay, that is how they lift these rocks. So they have one set up there where the barge shows up to lift it off the barge, put it back on the logs. They roll it up to the site. They have another at the base of the site that's going to lift it up. Now, when they start the pyramids, they start at the very base of it, obviously. They build that first. Then they lift up the stones with the crane. They put it on the next level where they have logs set up again and they can maneuver it to where they need it. They start in the middle there and they build their way out. So once they get out to as far as they're going outwards, they have another crane set up on that level. They lift it and make another level. And they just keep repeating that process up, and it keeps shrinking in and making that pyramid shape. So that's what the scroll said, is that they had wooden cranes that would lift the rocks. Now, interestingly, Leonardo da Vinci actually drew the crane that they used. That's what these people are saying. And it's kind of cool that we had this information all along and we just didn't know it. You know, we had no idea that what Da Vinci drew was an actual machine, not just something that he invented in his head and was kind of ahead of his time. But they had those machines then. That's what the scroll is saying. So that's how they were able to maneuver the logs. That's how they were able to get them up into position. And then you're talking the cutting. Okay, now the cutting is, like I said, I think it's just done to fit. And most likely, if they make it level when they cut it, it's going to be a fairly straight line. So when they cut it to fit, it's still going to be level, because you want the thing to be level so it doesn't tilt either which way, especially when you're talking major weight of these stones. You don't want it leaning to one side, because over time, that's going to cause uneven erosion and it's going to topple over, and that's no good for nobody. So they're going to make sure that this thing is level while they're building it. That's standard practice for anybody building anything. Even a redneck out here building a tree stand, you make sure it's level so that it's going to be safe. Okay? So if they make sure it's level, the cuts are going to be fairly uniform and fairly level as well. As far as the amazing precision of those cuts, I do not have that information. I do not know exactly how precise those cuts are. There's a lot of people that have said, you know, they've said that they're like look like they were done with a razor. They're hair thin and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I've never seen them. I haven't measured them myself to tell you. So that might still be a mystery. That might be something that we're still trying to figure out. What I would say is building of the pyramids in Egypt took place over multiple generations. Okay, because there's a lot of pyramids that were built. The Great Pyramid was not the first pyramid they ever built. There was a lot of other ones. So by the time that pyramid's being built, they're really, really good at what they do. And then if you look at other sites all over the world, you've got the Aztec pyramids in Mexico. You've got a pyramid in Antarctica that they say that they found. You have pyramids all throughout different rainforests in the world. China has a bunch of pyramids. The United States had pyramids when we first came here. So, although ours were more like earth mounds, but same basic principle. This is a technology that had existed on Earth for a long, long time. And to think that they didn't have the ability to make cuts like that is kind of arrogant in my view. Because, I mean, we just don't know, you know. A lot of the stuff that they built back then is still around today. If you look at the Great Pyramids, you look at the Sphinx, you look at the Aztec pyramids, you look at Stonehenge, you look at a lot of the roads that the Romans built. You know, the Nazca lines, there's a lot of things that were constructed and made then, thousands and thousands of years ago, that are still around, and they're still strong. And then if you compare that with our technology, our building, there's really no comparison. I mean, they built a damn road, and within a year it's got potholes all in it. And that's with cars driving on this road that have rubber tires filled with air. So you can't get much softer than that unless you wrap the tires in pillows or something. The Romans didn't have rubber tires filled with air. They were driving chariots with either wooden or metal, steel wheels, probably iron, most likely wheels, on these roads. So, in my view, that would do a lot more damage than just a tire that's rubber that's filled with air. So, we cannot replicate even their road building technology. We understand how it was done, but we don't do that today. We do asphalt. You know, and if we're building like sidewalks and stuff like that, we use concrete. And we use concrete for our buildings, concrete and steel and wood. And they all fall apart. Over time, they all fall apart. Every sidewalk in every one of your hometowns or cities has got cracks in it. Every single one. Within a couple years of them putting it in, it's got cracks in it. Every building that is made in the modern era needs constant upkeep, because if you don't, it basically falls apart over time. We cannot build like they built. There was a level of craftsmanship that we can't match in a lot of different areas. So to be mystified by the idea that these cuts were so precise and so spectacular, there's no way we could do it, I don't buy it. I just think they're better at it than we are. Just like they were better at a lot of different things than we are. See, there's this view that people have of ancient people. And they think that they were uncivilized and they were stupid. And they're backwards like people. Simple peasants and farmers and hunter-gatherers. And they had no idea how to do any of this stuff. But if you look at the most amazing structures ever built, they were all built back then. We don't have amazing structures like that now. I mean, yeah, we build giant we build giant skyscrapers. What's so great about that? Statue of Liberty is pretty awesome. That's a big statue. Mount Rushmore is pretty amazing. But Statue of Liberty has been redone several times, where they have to go in and fix it up and re-beautify it. So, I mean, it's not like there's a lot that we can do better than they could do it back then. We just have different technology. We went the way of the computer chip and electricity, and they didn't do that as much. You know, maybe. It all really depends on exactly what the pyramids were for. Because Tesla theorized that using that pyramid shape, that you could actually build things that are very similar to the pyramids around the world and actually be able to conduct electricity straight from the atmosphere, straight from the earth. And you'd have free electricity. So it's possible that that might be what they were for. I mean, what we're taught in school is that the pyramids were tombs, just giant tombs for the pharaohs. But why would every culture worldwide just about build pyramids? If they were just tombs for the Egyptian pharaohs, how would it be possible that every single culture is building these things when supposedly they weren't talking to each other? That's what we're taught as well, that you didn't have people traveling all over the world back in ancient history. That happened later on. So if they're not communicating with each other, how are they all building the exact same thing? How are they all pointing to the same constellations? How, during different equinoxes, does light shine in certain chambers in each one of them? I mean, there's so many things like that that are similar between all these different pyramids around the world that, to me, it just doesn't seem possible that it could be a coincidence. It doesn't seem possible that they all just had the same idea at the same time. Hey, why don't we just build this to put our kings in? Doesn't make much sense. I mean, did they put kings and pharaohs in them? Sure. But I don't think that was the primary purpose of them. I think that they served another purpose as well. Could it be to conduct electricity? Maybe. Graham Hancock has a really interesting theory about that a lot of these ancient megaliths and monoliths were built to warn future civilizations about a cataclysm that took place right after the Ice Age, at the end of the Younger Dryas, where you had a comet that struck the Earth and did a hell of a lot of damage and wiped out civilization. And it's very possible that that's why we don't know how they did this stuff. We look at them as backwards people and as like people that didn't have any technology. But in reality, they could have been way more technologically advanced than we are, just in a different way. And the comet hitting could have wiped that civilization out. And the people that survived didn't know how to do this stuff. I mean, that's one theory that I've always thought, is that we have had civilization after civilization after civilization on this planet. I think that we rise to a point of technological advancement that's pretty stunning. And then something comes along and wipes most of us out. And then we just start again. And it's happened over and over and over and over and over again. The evidence seems to point that way. I mean, if you look at a lot of these things that were built before recorded history, they're quite amazing. And we still don't know how it was done. But I think that that's probably the case, that we've had multiple technologically advanced civilizations that have been wiped out, whether it be war or, like in the case of this last one, a comet hit the Earth and caused a worldwide flood, and it wiped out most of humanity. And if you look at the evidence for that, it's overwhelming. I mean, if you look at geology, there's a layer when you dig down that shows that there was a worldwide flood. If you look at religion, every major religion in the world has a flood mythology. From the Bible to Buddhism to everything. They all have the same, that the world flooded and there was only a few people left. If you look at science did a DNA study, and they found that everybody on Earth and every animal on Earth comes from either a single pair or a small group. from around the time that comet hit the Earth and the world flooded. So I don't think that all of this stuff is make-believe. I don't think all this stuff is mythology. I think that all of the religions of the world documented a historical event that happened, that wiped out humanity. Because just look at the Bible. Look at the things that were happening in that time. The Bible says that mankind was wicked, and that they didn't care about God at all. That all they cared about was their own pleasure and their own sin. Look at the story of the Tower of Babel, where they tried to build a tower that could reach God, way, way up in the sky. How are simple farmers and hunter-gatherers, how would they be able to do that? How would they be able to build something that tall that wouldn't fall apart? Think about that. And there's evidence that shows that this stuff happened, that there was a worldwide flood. So in every single aspect, that's true. And it's been proven true over and over and over again. So I think over and over and over we've been through this. And let's bring that to modern day. Okay, we've got a pretty cool civilization going on. It is wicked. And I think that it's probably, if it doesn't change its ways, it's probably heading towards its end as well. But we can do a lot of stuff. We can go to space. We can put a man on the moon. Within our lifetime, if we're not destroyed, we will probably put a man on Mars. We've already put robots there. Okay? So there's a lot that we can do. We are very technologically advanced right now. But let's say another big asteroid or comet hits the Earth and wipes out 98% of the population, 99% of the population. Not just us, but the animal life as well. And everything has to start again. That's what happened at the end of the Ice Age. So let's say it happens again. And there's, instead of billions of us on the planet, there's 100,000 of us left or something. Would you know how to recreate anything that we have? Can you make an airplane? Do you even understand how an airplane works? Can you build a computer from scratch? Do you understand what makes a computer work? Do you even understand what a microchip is and how to create one? If the power went out and everybody was gone, could you go down to the power station and get the power going again? Do you know how it works? The answer to all those questions is probably no for the overwhelming majority of people. Do you know how to do surgery? Do you understand anything other than a very small surface level of medicine? Do you know how to make all the drugs that we rely on today to keep us alive? Do you know how to even farm? I mean, let's go all the way back. You're talking, they're farmers and hunter-gatherers. Do you even know how to farm? Do you know where your food comes from? Do you know how to produce it yourself? Do you know how to process an animal if you kill one? For a lot of you, the answer to all those questions is no. And I'd imagine that the overwhelming majority of people, the answer would be no to most of those questions, especially the ones about technology and how to make a lot of the stuff that we have. Everybody has a cell phone in your pocket. Do you know how it works? Could you make one? Could you even make it work again if it stopped? No. So if a bunch of us get wiped out like that, the overwhelming majority, and there aren't people left that know how to do those things, how long do you think it will take before we revert back to spears and bows and arrows and stuff? How long do you think it will take before animals take over? I mean, a lot of them are wiped out as well, but they're going to keep breeding. And within a couple generations, there's going to be a lot more of them than there were. How long do you think it would take before there's bears and stuff just walking down the streets of New York City? what would you even do about it? I mean, we have firearms, so for a while we'd be good. We'd be able to kind of raid stores and get all the ammunition we could and weapons, and we'd be good for a little bit. But I bet you within 4 or 5 generations, all that stuff's going to be gone. And then we're right back to poking things with sticks and shooting bows and trying to hunt that way. Because we don't know how to build on any of this stuff. That's a sobering thought. And I think that is what has taken place over and over and over and over again throughout history. I think mankind has to start over. And we build ourselves up. We discover things. We come up with technology to make life easier. We become technologically advanced. Something screws up and we either destroy ourselves or something destroys us. And then we start all over again. And I think each time is a little bit different because you're not going to have the exact same discoveries every time. You know, this civilization might go a completely different way and do crystal technology, where all of their technology is based on crystals. Another one might figure out electromagnetism, and everything's based on that. You know, ours happens to be based on computer chips. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the only way. There's a lot of different really cool stuff. I mean, scientists now are discovering some amazing things about sound. How sound can heal and sound can kill. And sound can do all kinds of amazing things. So maybe there was a civilization that had a complete sonic technology. That's pretty amazing stuff too. So I think that it's not that it would be impossible for them to do the cutting, and it's not that it would be impossible for them to build these things. It's just we don't quite understand exactly how it was done. That's all. And when you really look at what this papyrus says, it's a crane. That's the answer. It's a crane. We got cranes now. What's so mystical about that? What's the big, oh my God moment? It's a crane, dude. Of course they took something to help them lift it up and put it up there. It makes sense. People have a tendency to want to make things a lot spookier than they have to be sometimes. Occam's razor, people. For those that don't know what that is, the simplest solution is usually the right one. There's no reason it has to be some supernatural force or it has to be aliens or anything like that created this stuff when a simple wooden crane will get the job done. How did they cut the rocks? The same way people have been cutting rocks for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They were just really damn good at it because they've been doing it generation after generation after generation. There are ruins of entire cities carved out of rock underground where you go down what looks like a cave entrance and there's a whole city underground carved out of the mountain. It's spectacular. These people knew how to work with stone. So it doesn't surprise me that they would be able to make those cuts. Now let's talk a little bit briefly about how they would align the pyramids to different constellations, align them so that light shone through during different equinoxes, those kind of things. Ancient man had a profound understanding of the stars. That is proven over and over and over again throughout all of their megaliths and monoliths that they built and their texts and different documents that we found and hieroglyphics and all that. They knew space. They knew the stars. They knew the constellations. And that makes sense because if you have a society that is focused on learning, where you don't have TV to watch, you're not going down to the movies, okay? The only real entertainment you might have is a play or a little bit of music. But for the most part, people are trying to learn and trying to figure things out. And you got a lot of time on your hands at night, especially if they didn't have electricity. So you're going to lay there and stare at the sky. And you're going to figure out the stars. That makes a lot of sense. They developed mathematics thousands and thousands of years ago. So it's not a surprise that they're able to do these things. They had a profound understanding. They had a better understanding of the cosmos than I would say probably 99% of the Earth's population does now. I mean, yes, we have astronomers that know a great deal, and we have astrophysicists that know a great deal about space and about the constellations and about all of that kind of stuff. But the average person doesn't. The average person might be able to pick out the Big and Little Dipper. They might be able to pick out the North Star. And that's about it. You start getting into even something as simple as Orion's Belt. And I bet you that probably 90% of people couldn't pick it out on a map. They couldn't tell you where it is. People don't know anything anymore. That's a sad, sad fact, but it's true. Just watch like when they do on the Tonight Show and those kind of things, where they do like the man on the street interviews, where they go down and they talk to random people on the street and ask them easy questions. And these dummies don't know any of this stuff. They couldn't even tell you who the president is or the vice president is, most of them. It's pretty alarming and pretty sad when you think that all of these people vote. And then you wonder why the world is the way it is and why things are so screwed up. That's why. Because these dumbass people that don't know anything are electing people that don't know how to do the job. And they don't know how to do the job because they don't know anything. They're just promised stuff, so they say, hey, this guy's going to give me this, so I'll vote for him. It's a recipe for disaster. Now, I'm not getting into politics on this show. It's not what this is for. But that's a recipe for disaster. When you have a population that doesn't know anything, then when you have a cataclysmic event, like a comet hitting or something, you're in big trouble. How many of you would even survive? Let's say you survived the impact. How many of you would starve to death because you don't know how to feed yourself? It won't be long, a year or two, before there won't be barely nothing in the stores that'll be fit to eat anymore. What are you going to do then? I mean, I imagine there'll be people that'll end up forming like gangs and going around and attacking farms and stuff, and people that do know how to feed themselves, just stealing from them. But once you do that and you kill off all those people, then what are you going to do? Scary, huh? I'm going to throw over to Old Boy. I want to see what he thinks about all this. And then I will be back on the other side to give my final sum up and everything and wrap this thing up. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
So, there was a text found supposedly in 440 BC saying that it explains that how maybe the pyramids of Giza were made. So the problem is, like they're saying, it was 2,500 years, 2,600 years after they were built. It said they had these wooden planks. Leonardo da Vinci actually drew them. So they think that, and they found this one text in it. James will tell you later, because I'm going to be honest, this is, again, James stuff. It interests me because we all want to know how they were built. You guys have your opinions. You always leave your comments. The problem is in this one, it was, the text was written 2,600, I think 25 or 2,600 years after they were built. This could explain some of the stuff, how they lined it up, and this thing which, you know, they would line it up, do the under part, then the middle, then do the top. The problem is this is 2,500, 2,600 years later, or over 2,000 years. No. I don't agree with it. I read it, and I read the article, and it was pretty interesting. It might be now what happened 2,500 years later, how they did it, and that's a possibility, or how they helped do it, wooden planks. But the problem I have is they were even arguing this. They've had masonries who do this for a living now and can't even match what they did and how they cut certain rock. They don't have the tools to do it as perfect now, and we have the technology supposedly better than they did. So I'm telling you right now, I have opinions, and I'm going to tell you guys that in a minute. It's a very interesting, because we've done a very interesting story, because we've done stuff again with the pyramids, with aliens, and that's where I'm going to go with this. You already know. And I think that the pyramids in it, they say that it's after gods, the Sphinx and stuff like that. I don't know. Because I think they were doing genetic mutations. Like with lions, that's how you got the griffin, different mutated monsters, giants. I think they're the reason they are. I think they're a lot of the reason why they exist and we exist. So I think, and I don't care what anybody thinks, we had some kind of tool or something they gave us, or something that it's just no longer exists anymore. And that's a possibility. I'm not going to say impossible. That's more of the city of Atlantis, the Sumerians, stuff like that. We need to find out. Because you got to realize, there's always going to be arguments how old the world is. They already proved it's probably around 10,000, or that's what certain people believe, religious people, 10,000 or less. Scientists believe it's billions. Some believe it's 100,000 years. Some believe it's millions. Here's the point. I think, in my opinion, it's millions of years old, even maybe billions. But whatever, you're going to believe in what you're going to believe in. I'm not here to argue your religion. I know people are going to argue it. It says in the Bible this and whatever. That's your opinion. You're cool. That's fine. The point is, I don't think we built the pyramids by ourselves. I believe that we were helped by them. They showed us how to do it, or we used some tools that they had. That's my opinion. I've always had this opinion, and most people have this opinion, other than the fact is that, or they used, there's some people who think they used the Ark of the Covenant, because that was a weapon, and there's some people, and I think the Ark was a weapon from the aliens anyway. Some people believe it's biblical, and that's fine. There's a possibility. I'm not going to say that's impossible. I don't say anything's impossible. Highly unlikely, but I won't say it's impossible. I'm not here to argue anybody's beliefs or what you think. That's your opinion. And that's just what I think. I've always been interested in that time. I have a connection with that time. I think I was there at one time as a different person. So does my wife. And I really enjoy that era. I like Roman era. I love Greek mythology, man. I like the monsters. I even like the Egyptian monsters and gods and the Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology. It's another time I think I was there too. That's my belief. You don't have to believe that. That's fine. And that's just what I believe. And like I said, my opinions. You guys are all welcome to yours. So that's just my opinion. I understand people are going to have many opinions. See, James is very smart. He's going to have his opinions. I know there's scientists and people went to school are going to have theirs, and that's fine. Just because you go to college doesn't mean you're smarter than me. Trust me on that. They're already proving that. They're already proving street smarts is a form of intelligence, and I'm very intelligent, more than people think. And I don't have to read a whole bunch of books to know that. But I will tell you this. Anything is possible. I will say that. Nothing is impossible. Except certain things like, am I going to be able to fly without anybody? No. Am I going to be able to fly by myself? No. Eventually something will be made, a jetpack or something. But that's a whole different story. So, you know what I mean. There's some things that's just not going to happen. But most things can be probably accomplished. And in a, fair amount of reality. We'll say it that way. I know people think, well, how does a Satanist pagan think this? Did I say that I believe that aliens weren't from what aliens really are? We don't know what they are. We don't know if they're another species. We don't know if they're people that we used to be and they changed over time. Space has changed them. Or they could be angels or demons, you call or say. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they could be the Watchers. You never know what they are. You have to know which you don't believe in. Remember that, guys. And trust me, I do a lot of studying over this. Sorry if the hair keeps falling in my hair, in my face, guys. I'm fucking not trying to do that. It's just so hot. It was 100 and something degrees in California, so I didn't feel like doing anything with my hair. So sorry, guys, if you see it going in my face. I apologize. Fuck, that's how it goes. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm not here to argue with anybody. I know people probably are gonna say something, and that's fine. You guys can disagree with me. Don't. People are so crazy how they respond to people. You don't have to attack people. You can tell your opinion, and if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But when people get mad and argue, it's so crazy. And I see it with everything: sports, movies. Like one day, a couple weeks ago, I posted and this has nothing to do with this, but this is just something that I see a lot of. I posted an opinion that I have, and it had nothing to do with Will. God, what's his name? Fuck. Johnny Depp. He played Willy Wonka in Charlie's Chocolate Factory, and he also played the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. And it wasn't that guy. I'm not talking about... See, what people didn't understand is... You remember when the original Willy Wonka, Gene Hackman, in the book, he took off and gave Charlie the factory and said he had to leave. Well, if you ever see Alice in Wonderland, like the cartoon or the book, not the movie, and I know Johnny Depp played both, is it the same person? Did he lose his mind and turn into the Mad Hatter? It was just an idea, a thought, a theory. Dude, I had people pissed off at me, talking shit. I had to block people over this. Over a fucking opinion, man. Over a movie. Or a book. And people lose it. This is what I'm saying. This is where I'm putting in with a show. People do this all the time. It's cool to have your opinions, but when you fucking get crazy like this, that's why it gets annoying with me and James. And I get it. You guys can have your opinions. Tell us. When you start damning people and tell them they're going to go to hell, or you're a racist and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm talking on both sides. And I'm not making this political. I'm not even going to bring that up. That's why we're not getting anywhere. We're going backwards, guys. And maybe you can tell me a theory I don't know. And I would love to learn. I don't want to argue with people. And I would love to hear their research and their knowledge. And I can learn something. And maybe we can get to the truth. Not calling each other names, arguing, you're an idiot, you're a lie. That doesn't get you anywhere, guys. And that's all I'm saying. And it's with everything, with the shows, all paranormal and crypto and all the shows we do. This has nothing to do. This is more of history and mystery and a little bit of alien, maybe a little bit of religion to a point in civilizations. Like I said, I probably just messed that word up. And again, I have issues with certain words, guys. You guys know that. You've been watching the show for years, so you fucking know old boy says some crazy shit and messes up his words sometimes, but I know you guys love me. And that being said, like I said, I would like to hear your opinion on how they were made. It's been an argument for hundreds and even thousands of years how they were made. So a lot of people think alien. Some think they use some technology we don't know about. Some you think they use some kind of the Ark of the Covenant or some kind of weapon. There was some people who believe other things. They use magic, or they use some kind of water, or they use these weird kind of worms that don't exist anymore. There's all kinds of stuff they say. My opinion is aliens helped us, and that's what quite a few people believe. And I think they had machines that they showed us how to do things, and we pissed them off years ago, and they don't care. Or there's other aliens have come here and they control everything we do, and that's another opinion a lot of people have. And so that they know we're getting too smart for our own good, and they're dumbing us down. So, and that's like, again, here comes the alien theories. I believe that's who helped make us these the Sphinx and the pyramids. There are some things they haven't even opened that's, they're saying don't open. They have ropes and certain, like where Anubis is at and stuff like that. I think they already opened that And there's been all kinds of stupid things on TikTok about that. There's one that says don't ever open, and they haven't opened yet. And there's some that they said that there's it's too far down, they haven't gone down, but there's another hidden cavern in one of the pyramids. They haven't explored it yet. There's a couple things they haven't found out. I think there's more that they're going to find eventually. I think we're going to find more stuff there. But I also think we shouldn't be messing with things. But again, we don't listen to anything. We always do the opposite because we think we have the right to know everything. And whoever gave us the permission, I don't know. Maybe sometimes we just leave things alone. I think that's what the problem is. It's all right to know our history and our past. That's fine. But I think it causes a lot of problems in life now because a lot of people are arguing and fighting over what made us and who made us and what you should believe and what you shouldn't believe and how to live your life. Maybe if people mind their own business, you don't want to believe in something, that's fine. I'm talking about altogether. But stop arguing over it. Like, try to get a middle ground. If you don't agree, then leave it alone at that. Like, we don't need to fight over everything, guys. I already know somebody's going to flip out. They just overdo it. It's crazy. But everybody's open to their opinions like me. Like, James is going to research the hell out of this fucking thing and tell me and everyone what he thinks, and he's going to know a lot more because he is the researcher dude. I'm just the guy gives my fucking opinion. And I do research too. I'm just going to make something up and go with it. No, I don't do that. But that's my opinion. I think that aliens helped us make a lot of our stuff. They showed us how to do things. Because look at, guys, all the way up to about the 1700s, 1800s, we were pretty, we had different things to, buggies and stuff, and all of a sudden we got really smart for like 120 years, and it's crazy how fast it went. So, like I said, you guys tell us what you think. That's just what I think. Those are my opinions, and I'll talk a little more in a minute, guys, of a quick review of what you guys think it is, and I would love to know. So, again, just tell me what you guys think. We'll see it in the comments when we watch the show. Or not watch the show, when we check it on YouTube. And whatever other place you guys on Parax Radio think, we'll read them. So that's just what I think. I mean, like I said, this kind of stuff is like really not my thing. So I didn't really have a lot to say. I just gave my opinions on this version of the show. So James is going to sound a lot more interesting on this part, because he's more of the nerdy science guy, and I'm nerdy, but not that much like that. Like, he's into this stuff. Like, he lives and breathes this stuff. I'm just amateur on this kind of stuff. So these were just opinions. So I hope I didn't make anybody angry, or I wasn't trying to rant on, but I'm getting sick of the arguing altogether on everything. So that's why I was just saying it. Plus, I'm really hot, guys. It was really hot today, earlier today, and I'm really burnt out. The sun really just got to me today, so beg with me. Just roll with it and love me like you guys love me, and I love you. No, but that's what I think. I think aliens use some kind of materials or some kind of laser, even their UFOs, to lift these giant things that weigh tons and tons of these bricks, and how they cut them with their lasers. I think they have a certain laser that we don't have, and they're almost perfect, and that's almost impossible, guys. Like, they can't even do that today. The masonry can't cut. I've seen documentaries. There's legendary masons who do stuff now I can't even touch what they did. The lasers were perfect. That's almost impossible. They had to have some kind of machine, some kind of laser that we don't know about, that can cut through anything, like even diamonds, even like anything, like bricks like that. Those bricks are huge. You guys have seen the Sphinx. You've seen how big they are. Maybe these wooden things that they're talking about in the story that we, in the original article, could have done it. But the problem is, again, it was 2,600 years later. Maybe it's something they made now, at that time, not now, but at that time, and it worked then. But I don't know. They didn't have the technology then. So just let me know what you think about the alien. That's my theory. I think there was some kind of tool or some kind of, maybe even their weapon they use. It just lifts stuff. Maybe that's how they lift us and abduct humans and animals and cows. They use the same thing to lift these giant bricks up or stone. And maybe that's how they cut it. Or maybe they use the lasers on there that can just cut right through it like straight, perfect lines. Maybe that's the kind of technology they have that we don't know. Apparently, when you look at Roswell, they said there's metal they were hitting and shooting with, and it wasn't even putting scratches on the metal. So if they built these UFOs, they must have been using some kind of equipment, material, or even laser, maybe crystals they're using. I don't know. I can't tell you. These are theories that I think or other people have thought. Maybe we were smart enough at the time and we made a giant, like they said, wooden thing that actually lifted this. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe that's what really happened. Maybe we're putting ourselves down like that and giving us the benefit of doubt that we're smarter than we figured it out. Maybe we use sound. Some people think we use sound because they show now that they're even for ride. They have these tanks that can use sonic waves, sound, and push people back. And maybe that's what they use these, and they figured out. And I think again that would be aliens showing us how to do it. Maybe that's how they figured it out at the time. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I did. It was something different, educational, and it made you guys think. So if you guys like the show, remember, leave comments. Keep following us on James Hershey's YouTube page. Watch us on Parax Radio every Sunday nights, 12 a.m., 12 Pacific time at night. The best of Tuesday nights, 8 Pacific. No, sorry. The best of show on Tuesday nights at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time at night. We're on YouTube, Parax, a lot of affiliates, Spotify, Facebook, a lot of places, guys. Just check us out. I think we're on Cloud too. I think we're on Cloud also now. I think. So you guys want to listen to any of the old shows? Go ahead, check them out. Subscribe to James Hershey's YouTube page, and also we want, shirts, hats, all kinds of cool stuff. You guys can order on. He'll tell you where to go. All the merchandise stuff. So I hope you have a good night. I hope you have it's getting hot, guys. It's supposed to be in the high 112 this weekend for me in California. So I hope you guys are staying cool. I love you guys, and hope you have a good night. Misfits, your ladies, monster lovers, demon hunters. I love you, and blessed be it. Have a good night.
Thank you, brother. Okay, so we had a difference of opinion here. Old boy thinks it was aliens. I think that simple crane. Simple answer. It makes sense. It fits. No need to bring aliens in. No need to make it all mystical and more than it needs to be. I think it's a simple engineering issue. I don't think that this answer is a supernatural answer. I don't think it's a mystical answer. I don't think it is an extraterrestrial answer. I think it's a simple engineering problem that a crane solves. And if you have technology that exists that is capable of doing the job, why would you need aliens to do it? Why would you need magic or any of these things to accomplish this? Seems to me like it'd be simple enough to do with a crane. I mean, we do it now. So why couldn't they do it then? I mean, yes, they may not have had like diesel powered cranes that they got to go get gas for and put in and all that, but a simple wooden crane, I mean, they have trebuchets, they have catapults, they have all these things throughout history. So it's not a stretch to think that they had a crane. It's the same thing. If you look at a trebuchet, the counterweight on a trebuchet is gigantic. So they obviously knew how to cut and move very, very large stones. If you look at a catapult, the stones it threw were large. They weren't as large as the pyramid stones, but they were still pretty large. And they're flinging them hundreds of feet in the air over castle walls and stuff. So to me, simple engineering problem, nothing mystical about it, nothing hard to understand. I think that it is a good answer. I think that it is an answer that fits, and I think that's it. I mean, I would still be open to learning how precise these cuts were, and maybe getting that answer down the road. But I think, for the most part, pyramid solved. I think that's a safe thing to say, is that we have figured out the answer. And it's a simple one, you know, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope that you learned something. I hope that if this is a question you've had for a long time, like we have, that now you have an answer and it helps you. Shameless plug time. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Please go subscribe, watch the videos. There's thousands of videos on there. Every episode of Staring is on the channel. Every episode of Paranormal News is on the channel. Every episode of Tales from the Abyss is on the channel. That's the TV show we do where we have our paranormal team that goes and helps families and stuff. I also do prepping and survival type videos on there. I just did one on making banana powder and put up. So if you're somebody that is into prepping and being prepared for a situation like a cataclysm, making sure you have food, check the channel out. It's got some good information for you. Hope that you enjoyed the show. As always, it's up to you to make up your own mind. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys think. Do you think that it was a simple crane that did the job, or do you think, like Old Boy does, that it was aliens that came down in their spaceships and moved stones for us and built the pyramids for whatever purpose? And while you're at it, what do you think the purpose of the pyramids was? Do you think that they were essentially giant batteries or giant capacitors or conductors of some sort that made electricity? It's kind of an interesting idea. Could be. I mean, there's definitely some sound scientific theory that proposes that would be possible. So most times when something is possible, it's only a matter of time before it is. Was it? I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. As always, up to you to make up your own mind. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll catch you on the next one. Till we speak to you again. Love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.